Hi, we're two dudes, 5 feet. I'm Dakota.
And I'm Jacob.
And today, we're doing a tier list.
As usual, look at the place. You can see it on the screen. We're touching on the D&D classes, not subclasses, just the base classes is what we're looking at today. Obviously, there is obviously going to be our own opinions. You're going to have to deal with it. But we're going to do due diligence. We're not just going to gloss over ones that we don't care about or anything like that, or we have played the least of. Ultimately, under our belts, as far as everybody in the room, as we are joined by Michaela, my fiance, she's going to be giving us, female perspective and her perspective on all of it. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. And we're going to be, all three of us, as far as experience and just playing, even GMing, we're looking at like almost 20 years now, almost 2 decades of experience.
All of us
added together.
Yeah, under all of our belts.
Yeah, at least 20.
Yeah, at least 20. So we kind of know what we're talking about, but it is D&D. We kind of know what we're talking about.
Nobody really knows what we're talking about.
If they say they do, they're lying.
Yeah.
So,
D&D is 90% improv anyway.
Oh, yeah, we love it. But yeah, that's kind of what we're going to be doing today, and we hope that you guys enjoy. Obviously, like, subscribe. If we, get how many?
1,000 subscribers.
1,000 subscribers. We're going to be doing a face reveal so you can see our sexy mugs. Our sexy mugs. Whether they are, tankards or horns, you guys will have to find out. But mugs nonetheless. So yeah, obviously, as you can see on the list here, we already got Blood Hunter in its own section. Now, we didn't feel, because it's very UA, Unearthed Arcana.
It's unofficial.
It's unofficial in D&D, so we think it just kind of put it in its own section, leave it apart. Sorry for the Blood Hunter mains out there, but
pick a better class.
Perfectly, straightforward. Fuck off. I don't care.
Pick a better class.
Like I said, it is our own opinions, but ultimately, none of us have real experience playing it or even running it because of its unofficial status.
Yes.
So we just don't feel comfortable as far as experience of play or GMing with it to really feel like, our opinions on it should be really voiced in the same caliber or detail as the others here.
Yeah. Now, the biggest question is, do we want to go alphabetically?
That is a question. I don't care how we do it. I mean, it's set up in the list.
We can just hit Monk and Cinder.
Just start going down
start
the
with
way.
how the picture
I
has
think
it.
that's fine.
All right. So, Monk.
Monk.
Martial prowess
Monk.
who punches people with their fist and most of the time is not wearing any armor.
Oh, yeah. A martial class.
Yes, a martial
Big
class.
martial class, yes.
Albeit also one that gets a majority of hate from the D&D community.
Yes, them along with Rangers. I think those are the big two
Those are
that
the
get
big
the
two.
most hate. Yeah. So Monk, obviously martial, but they do have this key ability.
Yes.
This is kind of their bread and butter, the thing that makes them really Monk.
What makes them stick
different.
out? Yeah, what makes them stick out from the other
mechanically
classes.
makes them feel different. How do we feel on just the idea and the functionality of key points?
Personally, it's something they have to keep track of.
Mm-hmm.
So newer players would have to track spending their key points. Luckily, it's tied to your Monk level and
You
not
always
like
have-
some weird
yeah.
modifier included with it.
Yeah.
So you always have, at the most, your max level in Monk.
Yes.
I think it's good as far as for new players to get used to resources.
Yes.
And thinking about resources. Like even for fighter, I know you have to really be diligent about how you use your actions and when to use action surge and things of that nature. As that and second wind, you got to kind of piece together when is the best moment to use it.
Yes.
Along with lay on hands for paladin and different mechanics, different resources like that, or
But we'll get to those ones later.
Exactly. I think it's good as far as new players having some sort of built-in resource
Yes.
pool.
The bigger question is, how do we feel about Monk in general from level 1 to level 20? Its abilities that it gets. Honestly, my favorite thing about it is its increased movement speed over its levels. By the end of level 20, you end up with a plus 30 movement speed from your beginning total.
Which is wacky, and I
Yes.
understand that they are meant to be fast and like these ninjas and
Higher
very
dexterity.
Eastern style folklore
Yes.
of a class.
They are one of the most mobile classes, allowing them to dip in and out of combat and cover great distances.
Oh yeah, which is very utilitous. You can use that not just in combat, but also in many situations, like a chase situation
Yes.
or scenario. One thing, as far as a qualm that I have, especially with role play capability
Yes.
with the base class monk, it's obvious that monk is kind of just here in relation to the others.
Yes.
Very. I think this is kind of the stem or the root to why so much hate is put on both them and Ranger. They seem very specific in flavor.
Yes.
There's not much change going on.
Yeah, you're not able to diverse much
yes,
versus
you're-
other classes.
Like, yes, obviously we're not talking about subtypes here, but it is very much pushed that it is just, Eastern cultural inspired.
Yeah, you
and it
wear-
kind of limits you on that.
You
front.
wear your light clothing and you punch things progressively harder as you level up.
Yes, it seems very focused, and I think that's a part of the hate that comes to them.
Yeah.
And I do see it as a problem, but again, this is just one of those things with Wizards of the Coast that is something that can be solved at a table level.
Yeah. Now, Michaela, your thoughts on Monk?
As you've been playing one for years.
Yes. So, in one of our currently longest running campaigns that any of us have ever partaken in, I have been playing a monk since the very beginning. We started off that campaign at, I believe, level 5? 4? 5? That's what I thought.
5.
So, when we first started, my little halfling monk Breland, 5th level, you get your subclass, which we're not really going to go into, but it was, part of the decision-making factor for me personally, so I can't say that it's not important, but for the purposes of this video, unimportant. So up for 5th level in Monk is a lot of stuff that you get that I found was really nice, and that I really enjoyed being able to, get into, considering that she was one of my first couple of characters. She wasn't my first character, but she was definitely my first martial character. And the unarmored defense in Monk I found really interesting,
Oh, it's
considering
one of the-
that I hadn't played a lot of D&D before I started playing her. It's definitely a fun feature, being able to add your wisdom mod to
And
your armor.
Yeah. Honestly, that's one of my favorite class features is unarmored defense.
Yes.
Regardless of it coming from Monk or Barbarian.
Yes.
It is... it's a
Mechanically
nice-
solid.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
it is so
Mechanically
nice.
It's such a nice flavor instead of, oh, look at all these guys decked out in armor. Wait, there's a man running at me that's naked.
Naked bear man!
Swinging his great sword at me. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
He proceeds to push you and you fall over and you look at the floor and there's the small naked man just wearing some robes that you tripped over.
Yeah.
They're just pulling pranks on you at that point.
Exactly.
So, third and 4th level both. Deflect missiles and slow fall.
Those are good.
Strong.
Deflect missiles. It's such an... I feel like it's an underrated ability. The fact that only monks get it is, mind-blowing to me.
Well,
It makes sense that they're the ones that have it.
It's a
It
staple.
makes sense that they're the ones that have it, but
It's a
I'm just
staple.
how can you get away with only giving this to monks? It is such a, fun feature to have.
Which in most campaigns is underused, really.
Yes, oh my gosh.
Very situational.
Yes.
Our GM for the campaign that I'm playing my monk in has done probably the best as far as giving opportunities to
To
really
use abilities.
utilize our character's abilities regardless of what class we're playing.
Yes.
And that's probably helped a lot with how I feel about Monk and like how great I find some of these abilities. The key attacks though. Can we talk about all the key attacks that you get as a monk?
Yeah.
Stunning Strike? How many times has that saved our butts?
Stunning Strike is such a underrated monk ability in general, because most people are like, oh yeah, I can just punch them. But if your Stunning Strike pops off and the enemy fails the save they have to make, they are stunned until your turn, and the rest of your team has advantage to attack them. Most people normally are like, well, it's whatever. But you get advantage on your attacks.
He's so low.
You get advantage on attacks. A rogue would love that.
Oh yes, comboed with a rogue and its sneak attack. Insane.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Insane.
Lots of damage, lots of capabilities. I believe with the stun condition, even certain saves like a dex or
Yes.
strength.
You auto-fail.
Those are auto fails.
Yes.
So spellcasters love it
Oh,
if they
yeah.
have a dex save involved. Pop a fireball on them
Oh,
if you
yeah,
want
exactly.
afterwards. So
With all this in mind, where do we want to put Monk?
monk. Honestly, I want to put it B.
B?
That's where I would put it, simply for the fact of how restrained it feels roleplay wise.
That's kind of what I feel with it, actually. too.
But I feel like we also need
But
to take
flavor.
into consideration that your flavor of the monk that you play, like you said earlier, that's a table-to-table issue. Like, just because it's written one way does not mean that we're only going to utilize it that way.
Well, yeah.
Indeed. But I can say that for every class.
Yeah. It can be a statement.
It doesn't change the fact that other classes on this list are going to have mechanically flavored things.
Yeah.
Things that are going to be showing in the mechanics that don't limit the flavor.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would be ecstatic if more and more they were stepping away from the Eastern cultural emphasis on monk.
Yeah.
As far as art and items and things of that nature in D&D itself.
Yeah,
Like
the art and the art and the items I can understand, but just looking at the abilities that you get per level, I feel like it's not necessarily a flavor as far as they're only giving us Eastern inspired stuff.
No, but if you look at it and compare it to a ninja, verbatim, if you read through the the level block, it lines up with what a normal ninja would have. They'd be faster, be able to catch missiles.
Be able to speak every language.
I mean, that's the key ability of it, but for the most part,
That is a class feature.
yeah, the key ability.
That is a class feature. That is not a key ability.
It's because
That is
it's a key,
that
though.
is a class feature, though. You do not have to use any key to do that.
No,
that
but-
is just something that is passively with you all the time
Because
because you are
of
so
their
trained.
connection to the key,
in flavor.
which key is alone a whole Eastern style thing.
Yes. I just think, especially with items for monks, I see it more and more prevalent as items canonically in D&D. The ones that are good for monks are blatantly just meant to stack on to the already kind of predisposition of flavor. for
Yeah,
monk. Mechanics wise, I think monk is strong.
Yes,
and I think
absolutely.
and I think that is why I'm giving it a B, because it's gonna hold its own, just about to any other class.
yes,
Simple as that.
yeah, I'm okay with it going in B.
If you want to argue for A, why would you want it in A? Why specifically?
Without it being a fun class that you've been playing for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you okay
Well,
with agreeing with our B?
I'm okay with it being in B.
Okay.
We can keep
And-
it in B.
And we'll probably revise at the end.
Yeah, at the end.
Once we have an idea of where everyone's kind of at with certain classes, we'll talk
we
and
can
retouch.
we can definitely keep it in B. I don't know, personally I think you guys are being just a little bit too harsh with the whole Eastern stereotyping thing as far as the writing of it. But that is kind of the way that Wizards of the Coast has written it, regardless of how we personally play it
Yes.
at our tables.
Exactly.
I do have to give you that, so I'm perfectly fine with it being a B.
Our next one, the
Fighter.
lovable and vanilla fighter,
Cookie Cutter Knight.
the Cookie Cutter Knight.
Yes.
I don't know. I think Paladin feels a little more knighty than Fighter does.
I mean, fighter.
valid.
Yeah, but fighter in essence is the same regardless.
But
It's I'm good with weapon. I hate you good with weapon.
Yes.
But also-
very simple, very bare bones.
Hit-
Yes.
hit dice of D10.
Well, yeah,
Dice of D10, very nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
which is good. But like
Proficiency
fighter,
in all armor and weapons
exactly.
and shields.
Fighter itself is the martial prowess of D&D. If you want to hit good with any weapon, almost anything, with any armor, fighter is the way to go.
Yes.
And it is the most basic, and I would say one of the easiest classes for new people to jump in and play.
I would agree with that.
It is simple. You don't have to keep track of much. Say your
Bonus
one
actions.
use, or no, your one use of second wind and your one use of action surge
Yes,
until you
early-
get higher levels.
Until you get higher level, yep.
So really, you don't have to keep track of much as a fighter.
Yeah.
You'll get extra attack. You'll be able to hit like 4 times.
4 times
At
in a
level
turn
20.
at level 20.
just with one attack action.
Yes.
They hit hard. They are pretty tanky. Their health is good, and overall, I think as a fighter, they're kind of well rounded with what they've got.
They are. They are.
They're not. I don't think they're missing much compared to other classes. And it'd be nice if this had this, or whatever have you. Fighter is like just a simple class for a simple man.
Yes.
I would agree with that. One thing that I would bring up, especially since we just got done talking about Monk and with what I kind of compared it to with Ranger, where it's a little over specific, over focused.
Yes.
As a base class. I think Fighter is falling on the other end of that spectrum. Too
Over.
much.
Yes.
Where it is too simple. There's no real flavor. There's no character to the class itself.
Yeah.
As bare bones, it's just that bare
Yep.
bones. You have to have some role play flavor, just some interest in your character to really round out your character as a whole. As D&D is very much a role play game, just as it is mechanics. On the role play side of things, I think it's very weak.
Yes.
As a class, you have to. What makes your fighter special? Whatever weapon and armor you're using.
Yep.
And then after
Backstory.
that, what feat?
Or when you
What feat makes you different?
For fighter, the thing that really breaks it up is its subclasses,
Subclass.
which obviously we're not going to talk about. But
Well, that can be said about any.
yeah,
But
like
looking
for-
at the
But if
basic
you-
class.
Yes, if
Yeah.
you're looking at the bear class, I think what Dakota's trying to get at is the thing that really makes Fighter cool and special and different and fun is when you break it down to, your martial archetype. What subclass are you picking of Fighter? Because that's what's actually going to give you that flavor that the other classes at base class already have built in.
yeah, most of them have flavor already.
Exactly.
Yep.
Which
Whereas
I
fighter-
believe is a weak spot.
Yes.
Yes.
Whereas fighter, I'm gonna hit you really good with a sword, but compared to the rest of the party, you'll be able to pick me out of any of them before you could pick them out. So fighters are really weak in being able to spice things up a bit.
They're weak in flavor and role play.
Yep, they pick their weapon and they pick their armor.
Ability score improvements in other classes?
Yes,
Yeah,
just like Rogue.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was looking at
It's
it.
almost like they have less abilities
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
fighter-
more ASI.
You
Fighters-
have
to
your
make up for
actual
that.
class features.
Yeah, fighter picks up a lot more ability score improvements versus any other class.
Let's see, I'm counting.
Like that and
1,
Rogue, I believe, are the
2,
two
3.
big ones, right?
This has the most.
4,
Oh, Fighter's
Because Rogue
5,
only has one extra
6.
A one extra one
7.
for Rogue, yes.
Yeah.
As a fighter, you get 7 ability score improvements as opposed to getting actual class features.
Yes.
Because it's almost like when they made
Because
it,
they want-
It's too vanilla.
they knew that you would have to
Take feats.
flavor with a feat.
Exactly. Which really, I think that's all we need to talk about it for fighter because it's the most bare minimum class. So where do we think we would put fighter?
I would say it either needs to go at B below monk or it needs to go C.
I would say C.
I was gonna say C. As much as I love fighter,
I love playing fighter. I'm playing a fighter right now.
It's just when it comes to everything we're talking about, fighter's a bit lackluster.
Oh, absolutely.
We're only touching on the base class, and it's just behind the pack a little bit.
All right. Next up, looks like we got some Bard, boys.
Bard.
Music Man.
What to write home? What not to write home about Bard?
Honestly,
Honestly.
the versatility.
The
versatility.
arguably poster child of D&D.
Yes,
More than
absolutely.
anything. More than any other.
Yeah.
One of the strongest stereotypes as far as
Yes.
D&D.
One of the
playing.
initial
Yes.
tropes
Oh,
of D&D.
yes.
The
That
horny Bard.
Everyone
Bard,
loves
yes.
their seductive Bard, regardless.
yes.
And Bard itself, yeah, it's got charisma out the ass. But, like, the versatility a Bard can have right off its bat,
Crazy.
at level 10, I believe, yes, you get additional magic secrets, which lets you take spells from other classes that aren't on the spell list. And yes,
Oh, yes.
for those of you not aware, it's a spellcaster.
A full caster, mind you. So by the end of your campaign, if you're hitting level 20, you're gonna have, well, actually, when you're hitting level 17, you're gonna have 9th level spell slots, which is wacky.
Which, that's something you've got to track. Bards get a unique ability, Jack of all trades. So, for
Yes.
skills that they aren't proficient in, they get to add half of their proficiency bonus to it, which makes them genuinely good at almost anything they try their fingers at. And honestly, like you said, there isn't much to not write home about for Bard.
Exactly.
They've got a decent hit die.
D8.
They're hitting at a D8, which is great for when you're building your health.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. You've got proficiency with light armor, simple weapons. You get 3 musical instruments as far as proficiency goes, and your saving throws are Dex and Charisma.
Yeah. And so obviously you want those to be your best stats. And then on top of that, you even get expertise.
Yes, at 10th
Which
level,
is
you get expertise.
Useful because you pick
Oh.
2 of your proficiencies.
Third,
Yeah, you get
And
it twice.
10.
Yeah, you get it twice.
good lord.
It's like a rogue. Rogues
Oh,
get it
yes.
too. But bards, you'll be good at everything you try your hands at. And between their versatility of magic and their ability to do multiple things, like, you know, they're not the greatest at combat, but like the magic
I mean,
they
they
can cast,
can be.
hand-to-hand combat. The magic they're going to be casting will be so much more helpful than their fighting prowess.
Yes.
And honestly, I think that's what sends Bard home.
And we haven't even touched on Bardic Inspiration.
I mean, we don't have to.
Ultimately, obviously, out of the 3 that we've looked at so far, by far
This one's the best so far.
the most versatile.
Yes.
It has built-in support with Bardic Inspiration. It has built-in skill proficiency with those expertise. It has a built-in extra spell casting at 10th level. It has ultimately
18th level.
high charisma as its base number 1 stat, and arguably charisma and wisdom are the 2 most important stats in all of D&D.
Yes.
They dictate the most, they get rolled on probably the most out of, well, depends on your table.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that are by far most important, most rolled on.
Yeah.
Not to mention the possibility of flavors as far as what your bard specifically does
Exactly.
and how they do their magic.
That was what I was
Yes.
going to
Everyone, you
The
know,
role play.
they have a lot of role play ability. Your magic can be cast. It's typically through music, but we've also had bards at our table do, you know, storytelling,
Yeah.
poetry.
poetry. And when you think of musical instruments, you don't just have to think of, you know,
The
oh,
lyre.
I'm gonna play a lyre or a lute. Nah, have a motherfucking violin bard. Have a drum bard.
No, my
Oh,
favorite,
yes.
the dulcimer. 10-pound instrument you gotta whip around and set it out on its little table and hit the little strings on it and like
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
the flavor for Bard and the role playability of it is
Phenomenal.
the most diverse
Phenomenal.
of any of the classes so far.
Not to mention, you get a built-in excuse to say I went to college.
Exactly.
Bardic college.
Yes. One thing about Bard.
Yes.
one thing that most commonly happens is, or what I've seen at tables the most with bards, is if you are wanting a hero's journey, don't play a bard.
Oh yeah, don't play a ball.
Do not play a bard.
You will
Doesn't
not-
mean your alignment's going to be bad. Doesn't mean you're not going to have a great time.
You will not be the main character.
You're going to be the main character if you want to be. You're just going to be a main character that no one would want to follow.
Yeah.
Because if you do things as far as with Jack of all trades, you're just slightly better at everything in regards to the rest of the game. All skills. You're just good at, which means you really have to leverage something in your backstory or background to give yourself a flaw.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you're not experienced in D&D, a new player, you're going to see nothing wrong with Bard until you're about halfway through the story or campaign and you're seeing that you're not very interested or interesting as a character.
Yes.
Because you have basically no weaknesses.
Yep.
And being that kind of Paragon style character, it's almost a little bit of a pitfall. Not to say that Paragon style troped characters aren't fun. It's just
You might lose interest.
You might lose interest, and
biggest
that's something that's not great in D&D.
Yeah. So where do we want to put Bard?
I would say
I would say
be above Monk.
I would
or
say A.
I would say A. I'm
I
thinking.
think it's too early to put any class at S tier yet.
That's valid.
But I think Bard
It is a
belongs
strong-
in A. It's a strong class, lots of versatility, lots of things that you can do with a
It
Bard.
is the most open.
It
right
is
now.
the most open, and it has a lot of fun role play and other types of mechanics, especially if you already know what you're doing.
Yes. And now it's time for Cleric, albeit
doing it
the
for three.
most religious of the classes in 5th edition.
has by far the most anchored religious aspect to
Yes.
it. Does not mean you can't play a non-religious cleric. It's just, you have to explain that somehow.
Yeah, you got to be a way around it, which, for versatility's sake, not versatility, role playing sake, and being different, 99% of clerics are going
Are
to
gonna
be
be
religious.
Yes.
It's easier.
You're going to be religious regardless.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Unless you manage to find some way to finagle around it. All clerics, most of the time, are roughly the same until you break into their domains.
Yes.
Now, we just finished talking about barter with versatility.
Yeah.
And now we're coming on what I would easily argue is the champion of versatility in D&D.
Okay.
All you got to do is pick the right god.
Exactly.
All you got to do
Pick the right
is
domain.
not even domain because that's their subclass.
Yeah.
Just picking the god because you get that at level 1.
Yep.
You need that. It's built into the
Yes.
class. So just picking that, it's almost like that along with and each god kind of has like 3, if not a handful of different domains that you could pick from
And still
make
be
it
in line with
and
it.
make it work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you can't pick outside of those
Yes.
gods' domains.
Yep.
It just means that there's going to be more tension, which adds more role play capability down the road. Honestly, the way mechanically cleric is built, you can be supporting healer priest, you can be frontliner, you can be the utility cast. You are a full caster, but by God,
You are.
you can be martial.
You
if
are
want.
martial
Oh, yeah.
because
You can be
the
martial
base
if you
class
want.
for cleric, guys, for those of you who aren't aware in the audience, you have so much proficiency. You have proficiency in all simple weapons. You can wear light armor or medium armor, and you can carry shields. This is not only a spellcasting main, full cast, but also someone who can be up front smacking you in the face if they want to.
Oh, yeah.
And then we can't talk about cleric without bringing up a key ability for them, Channel Divinity.
Yeah, which comes from
They
get
their
one from their
god or
subclass,
subclass.
but all clerics get the same ability, turn undead
undead.
for their Channel Divinity.
Oh, yes.
Which
Oh, yes.
turns all the undead creatures away from them using their Channel Divinity.
Or if low enough level,
And
you
destroy
higher,
undead.
and
Exactly.
later in levels, destroy undead.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so good. And
Don't
for
forget Divine
those
Intervention.
and for those that are new to D&D, you might think, okay, how many times do you run into skeletons and zombies in D&D? Well, there's a lot more in the classification of undead. Vampires, undead. Liches are like the
Undead.
epitome of undead. Any type of creature, especially if you have a more experienced GM that likes to keep players on toes with encounters, they can take any stat block from a monster just about
And turn it undead.
turn it undead and give it some resistances, all that jazz, and change the stats a little. Ultimately, undead is one of the most common creature types that you will run into, especially earlier games.
Oh yeah.
So if you think it's situational, you might be in for a surprise on that one.
Yeah. Clerics overall are like a
Powerhouse.
a powerhouse. I was gonna say roundhouse.
I mean,
Yeah. With the abilities that they get, that divine intervention.
Yes, at 10th level.
Where, if they roll good enough, they God will straight up intervene and be like, I see what you want me to do, so I'm gonna do it.
I got you, fam.
yes.
And then, do whatever you ask of him, and if it succeeds, you can't do it for 7 days. Yeah, makes sense. That's busted.
Oh yeah, super strong later in levels. I think the power creep for them is perfect.
Yes.
It goes up, steadily throughout. Like with certain classes, there's some plateau bits here and there, or huge spikes where it takes some adjustment as the player to get used to. But ultimately, for them just being full cast but also so martial as options, one small thing that gets overlooked all the time, they're a wisdom cast.
Yes.
And wisdom is one of the most used skills in all of D&D. Anytime you want to do perception,
Yeah.
anytime you want to insight on someone, it's used the most
Yeah.
almost every session.
And speaking of cleric being a full cast, something that personally is like, for me, when I read cleric abilities, I'm just like, holy shit, they get to do that every single day. Bard is also a full class, mind you, and we just put that at A. Once you pick your Bard spells, you cannot change them at all. You can change one once per level up.
Yep.
And that's also the case with almost all other spellcasters too.
Cleric, as a full cast and heavy in martial, gets to change their prepared spells every single long rest.
Yes, when it comes to their spell list, they are the most versatile because I didn't have this spell. Give me a day and I can have it.
Oh yes.
Which
It's
has
crazy.
saved our butts so many times.
It's a useful ability to have, and honestly, I think more classes should have it.
Oh, absolutely.
But no, well, they do now. With Tasha's, more classes have the ability to swap out their spells upon certain level ups.
more readily.
More readily.
Yeah.
Which
is a
But
a step in the
not
right direction.
As
often
often as
Yes.
clerics.
Exactly.
You can do it every day.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was.
It's crazy.
Yeah, clerics are like the daddies of being able to, swap their spells.
Hey, so yesterday we were in combat, but I don't think we're really gonna do combat at all today. So I'm gonna prepare more, support spells instead of damage spells. Or I'm gonna make sure I specifically choose remove curse because I think this person might be under a curse, but I couldn't do it today, so I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And ultimately, looking for role play for a cleric, them being subscribed to a god, them being subscribed to some sort of organization, i.e.,
temple.
religious group, temple, church, towards a god in D&D, immediately gives you characters and backstory to work with, adding on to what every character gets, a chosen background.
Yes.
That's something added on, not replacing it.
Not
Yes.
to mention the
So-
fact that you follow a god as your character is going to open up so many roleplay capabilities in game as far as how you interact with the other PCs, how you interact with certain NPCs.
Yeah.
It
The sky's the limit, guys.
quite literally, the sky is the limit with cleric.
Sky daddies.
Yeah. So where do we think Cleric will go then?
I can easily say A above bard, easily.
I agree.
That's what I was thinking. See if I can get it before I can. All right. Thick Boys Barbarian. Albeit probably one of the strongest, if not most dangerous classes. Between their chunky hit dice at a D12, the highest of all the classes, their ability to rage, and their unarmored defense.
Oh, nasty in build.
Barbarians are frontliners. They're going to be the tank at the front of the group, taking hits and dealing out damage.
Oh yes.
They like to trade
Oh.
between being great with all weapons and light or medium armor. But let's be honest, why wear
You're not
that?
going to wear it.
Yeah, you have an armor defense. Why wear that when you bump up your con, bump up your dex, and you're running around with, if you roll good enough, like 15 AC naked, 16 AC naked.
Oh yeah. Easily.
And just your rage alone,
Half the damage.
half all the damage that
That
is
you take.
bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing, no matter what hits you with it, is phenomenally good. Because you're about to take 30 damage from like someone cutting you with their sword. You're only taking 15 because you're angry.
Oh
You just
yeah.
pump up those voids, get angry, and beat a man to death. I mean, really.
Mechanically, they are very strong.
Yes.
They're
Not to mention when you hit high level, you can rage however much you want.
Yeah, the higher level you get, the more you can rage.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. They're mechanically super strong early on, and I will say they do kind of plateau middle range as far
Yeah,
as
like
levels.
late level.
They kind of take a nap almost
Yeah, and then,
in their levels, and then they pick right back up at the end.
They take a little nap, couple levels, but then they keep trucking.
10 to 12.
Yeah, 10 to 12.
10 to 12 is where the nap is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
10 to 12, kind of right in the middle. It kind of just mellows out and sticks where it's at,
Yeah.
which isn't horrible.
Especially with what you get like late barbarian.
Yes.
Like we haven't talked much about capstones for classes, but like I think barbarians is one of the best because it not
yes.
only raises your strength by 4, but also your
Your con.
constitution by 4.
And you can rage an unlimited amount of times.
Well, but you can go over 20.
Yes, you
with
can go
that
up to
rage.
24.
Yeah. Which if you've maxed out your strength and con, which at level 20, why haven't you?
Exactly.
As a barbarian, you're sitting there with a 24 strength
And then 24.
as a normal person without magic.
Oh yeah.
Especially
oh,
when
yeah.
you have 5 abilities score improvements. If you're not already maxed out on those 2 stats at least, what are you doing?
Exactly. I think, the role playability though, it's lacking.
It's lacking. It is.
It's a very
It is worse than Monk.
Yes.
As far as roleplay
It is
capabilities.
a very easily stereotyped
I'm
character.
dumb and I'm angry
and
I
I hit things hard.
I will pick this house up.
I don't know the last time a barbarian starting out in a game did not have animalistic furs on them as part of their get up.
Because you were just naked.
Honestly, I don't know the last time that happened. It's very lacking in the roleplay department.
Most barbarians almost look the exact same.
Yes.
I'm big, I'm strong, I'm
bare-chested with some furs on the back.
exactly. I've got
Yeah.
some fur clothing
a
on.
large weapon.
I look intimidating. I'm carrying the biggest weapon I can find.
Probably standing on a mountain somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a trope that everyone loves. Everyone is called to in some way.
Everyone loves a good himbo.
Yes,
I
everyone loves a
wouldn't
good
call
himbo.
barbarians himbos. They lack in the wisdom and the intelligence.
Not necessarily.
Normally,
That's the stereotype.
exactly.
Yes.
Normally, that's what
But
they
that's,
lack.
that's what himbos are. Himbos are stupid strong.
Yeah,
Yes.
druids.
No, stupid and strong.
Yeah.
Barbarians.
Barbarians.
Fuck up. Beat you over the head with this player's handbook.
Ultimately, yes, they're super strong mechanically, but ultimately
They lack in roleplay.
they lack in role play and they lack in versatility mechanically.
Yeah, because every
They're,
barbarian.
they're getting that only
Even-
from their subclass.
yeah, every
I would
barbarian
say even then, the subclasses really aren't.
that different.
No, at the end of the day, they all come down to the same thing. Oh, let's make your rage better. Oh, let's change a little mechanic
Yeah.
about how exactly you rage.
Yes.
It's probably the most lackluster of the classes that
It
we
is
looked at,
probably-
besides fighter.
It's probably one of the biggest powerhouses of the classes, but like everything else behind it, it's lacking.
Yes, there's so much that could be done better.
Yes. I think there is a lot that at least could not be changed but tweaked
Yes.
Yes.
in ways to at least make it feel a little more less restricted.
Yeah.
Less restricted.
Yeah. Open it up.
I
a little
don't
bit
want to
more.
play barbarian and feel like I'm being told I can only be stupid and
Strong.
strong. I want to play a barbarian that has, 15 wisdom and 17
18.
strength. And actually, have a decent chance of surviving by myself out here in the wilds. I don't want to be, I'm too stupid to function without the other people in my group.
Yeah.
Yes. It's one of those ones, just like Bard, that gets heavily troped.
Yep.
Heavily troped. And for obvious mechanical reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's the way they built it.
Yes.
So where would we place it?
That's a-
I think, personally, C.
I don't know. I'm thinking.
I would put-
as much as I love barbarian, I'm thinking D.
D?
Like it's
I
it's,
don't think
it's
it deserves
strong
a D.
mechanically.
I would argue C behind Fighter.
Okay.
I would argue behind Fighter.
Yeah. Because
'Cause-
like, it's strong mechanically, but everything else, it's just it's lackluster.
Yes, it's lacking. It's lacking in all the other aspects.
Yeah. Wizard.
Hold on. I'm getting there.
Oh boy.
This is your bread and butter, my love.
Yes, Wizard. Obviously full cast. What else would it be?
So many motherfucking spells.
Once again touching on tropes, as it is obviously for newer players one of the first things that they see. They're gonna see memes about it. They're gonna see jokes. They're gonna see jokes about it.
Dying to 1d4.
Yes, 1d4 cheese damage, 1d4 getting stubbed on the toe damage. Yeah, it is a funny joke, and it is a trope. But all tropes have a little seed of truth in them.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
A
wizards.
D6.
Wizards are restricted in a very easy to see sense.
Oh yeah.
Their HP and their
Armor proficiencies.
armor proficiencies,
Which
They-
is
they
none,
are-
guys.
they are meant to be backline. There is almost no wizard that is frontline.
Yeah.
You're not seeing them in the front line.
No.
You see them as an interchange or back. They prefer to be back because that's what it's meant for.
Yeah. And if you've got a wizard up front, chances are they've got a really powerful spell that helps them, or they're playing wizard a different way than most people.
Yes, they're outside the norm, or the fighter or the barbarian fell in combat.
Yeah.
And they're having to be that interchange to let some other full caster still remain in the back. Ultimately, wizards. The flavor for them is all over the place. You could be
Phenomenal.
just base class. You can be any which way of flavor as far as wizard, because what makes your character your wizard is your spell selection.
I was about to say, I think my favorite thing about wizard is the flavor of their spell book.
Yes, you can
Because
completely customize.
Every wizard spell book is different.
Oh yes, they're
You will
personal.
not see the personal, and that's
like a thumbprint.
Exactly. You're not going to see any two wizards with the same spell books.
Oh, yes.
Unless they specifically made it that way.
Exactly.
Which nobody really would.
No.
Oh yeah.
And the ability to copy any other wizard spell into
Oh, yeah.
their book, albeit for a price.
Builds a little role play encounter that can happen
Exactly.
at any point in time.
You could sit there,
You
you're
come
playing
across another wizard.
or
Oh, shit.
a spell scroll in a dungeon.
Oh yeah. You know,
Let me
adds,
just copy the scroll into my book
adds
real
a
fast.
whole different as far as like avenue for the GM mechanically as a loot option. It really
Yes.
does. It really does. It's beautiful.
Because
I
not
love
many
it.
people are like, oh, I'll take a spell scroll. But like a wizard sees a spell scroll, they're gonna be like, oh, yo, let me see that real quick.
That is the equivalent of the barbarian getting a beautiful,
Really nice axe.
a beautiful new axe.
Yeah.
You know, it is that equate.
Yeah, which, I mean, with wizards' abilities and spells, they are
Yeah.
probably one of the heaviest spellcasters in the game.
They have the
Yes.
most spells out of anyone.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Oh,
care.
yeah.
I don't care how you're building your sorcerer build. I don't care how you're doing anything else. Your wizard is still going to have more spells than you.
Yeah.
And more spell
The
slots.
wizard
Oh, yeah.
will have the most spells.
Starting at first level, your spell book already has 6 first level wizard spells of your choice.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And one of my favorite things, though, every level up, you get 2 free spells to put into your book instead of paying the monetary cost. To put
Oh
them
yeah.
in. But it's even flavored where you're uncovering with your studies of your other spells, uncovering magical secrets, learning new spells, different incantations that unlock said spells.
Digging into the arcane. Yeah.
It's so
heavy
flavorful.
with flavor.
It's so flavorful. And, weak, but powerful.
Yes. Yes. Early game, you do
You're
have.
hiding in the back.
You do have to baby them.
Yes.
Yes.
Early game, especially with a mechanic heavy table or dungeon crawly style
Yes.
D&D, which Adamant I do love. And it's always going to hold a specific sweet spot in my heart doing dungeon crawls, because ultimately it's interesting to see, especially in longevity campaigns like
Yes.
that. Starting at level 1, going all the way to level 20, it's rarely ever done, let alone completed.
Yeah.
Without
With
character
just the
death.
way life is. But just seeing the growth as far as power, it is exponential
Yes,
Yeah.
with Wizard.
Progressively get more powerful. I don't think there's a point where they stop.
Exactly.
Because
Yes.
like we said, every level up you get 2 free spells.
Oh, yeah.
And then the abilities they get later levels to have signature spells and stuff like that is just above and beyond
Yes.
what other casters can get.
I would argue probably one of the best if you're only comparing full casters.
Yes.
One of the best. They
Oh,
are
yes.
easily top 3
Yeah.
in full casting
Yes.
category. Easily.
Yes. I have personally not played a wizard. I know you two. Dakota is currently playing a wizard.
Oh yeah.
Jake, you enjoy the flavor of wizards.
Oh, I do.
I'm that big brain, big arm wizard.
Which
I-
is a different flavor than a lot of people would be used to.
I love the writing mechanic of soft magic, like in Lord of the Rings. So I always want to be just this old, whimsical man in a long robe
Gandalf.
and staff, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're blinded, and
Yeah.
now I'm holding a sword.
Yeah.
Don't know why, but I am.
Yeah.
You know?
Wouldn't you
or
like to know?
Having the cryptic advice, being the advice giver in the party.
Yes.
It is a beautiful flavor that I love.
The being able to normally as a wizard your intelligence is a higher stat,
Out the
and if
roof.
it's not, you're playing a wizard wrong and shouldn't be playing
Yes.
one.
Intelligence
You-
is your spellcasting modifier.
If you're playing a lower intelligence wizard, just like any of the other classes where it's their main ability or stat, if you're playing that with that being not your highest, you're basically
yourself?
you're nerfing yourself, but also you got to be doing it intentionally. You're
Yes.
probably just wanting to
Don't ever do that accidentally.
seek for something different, which I don't know why you do that there.
Yeah.
There's so many subtypes, there's so many different backgrounds and combinations that you can do in 5e. That
Yes.
Ultimately, I don't know why you would want to feel different with your stats.
Yeah. No.
You know, they're just numbers.
Exactly. Now, where do we want the wizard to go?
Wizard, I would put,
Bless you.
excuse me, I would put at B, I would argue above monk.
Okay.
I am A-okay with that. I'm surprised you didn't go for A.
Yeah, I would.
I really thought you two would both be pushing for A,
I
and
mean-
I would be the one pushing for B.
A level 3 wizard versus a level 3 bard, the bard's gonna win
Yes.
almost every time.
Oh yeah.
like I said, the wizard exponentially gets better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means 2/3 of a campaign. The best level route and the best levels to play a campaign in for the mechanics of D&D is a party at level 10 or 12.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is the golden zone, as far as best place to play a party in
Yeah.
D&D. And right at that level, most wizards, unless you're building them a specific way, aren't the utility
Yeah.
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I was gonna bring up
Yes.
if you guys did push to put a wizard at A, because yes, you're gonna be great as far as like I have all the spell cast. You can put in a couple like utilitous type spells as far as like you can always grab a dispel magic or a counter spell. But at the end of the day, I think the options that cleric and bard will have as far as being a more utility based character is going to be better off than wizard.
Yeah.
Wizard is
One-
going to be too focused in on their specific school and
Which,
subclass.
at least though, for wizards, they get the subclass at level 2.
They do, which is
Yes.
earlier than everyone except for cleric, because
Yes.
cleric gets theirs at 1.
And druid gets theirs
And
at 2
druid.
as well.
Oh, druid gets theirs at 1 too.
2. No, they get theirs at 2.
Got it.
Yeah, wizards and druids get their subtypes at 2.
Yes.
But we're moving on to warlock,
The stereotypical spooky boys.
Yes. Spooky boys and girls.
which we're gonna throw it out right now. They've only got 2 spell slots. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah, for those new players,
If you want to play something, a class that doesn't have to be
You've got
too
two.
resource heavy, Warlock is kind of the way to go because you've only got to worry about 2 things to keep track of.
Oh,
Just-
until level 11.
yes.
well,
And then you hit 3, and then you got 3.
then you've got 3
Oh my
compared
gosh,
to other
oh my
classes that get like
17.
17 or monk and other classes that scale with their level.
Yes.
You have the least amount of things to keep track of other than the other abilities you get, like your pact
the-
and
Yes.
your
Invocation.
evocations.
Those things that make up for
Invocations
having
are
such
great.
little spell slots.
Yes.
Yes, your invocations grant you magical abilities depending on the one you choose,
Yes.
which range from a number
There's
of
so
different
many.
useful abilities. Like
Briley's got the weird eyes.
there are so many different options. We could do a whole tier
We
list.
could, just on
evocations.
invocations.
Just warlock invocations.
And
yes.
it's because there's like 20 of them, if not more.
Yes.
They are like the bread and butter of what makes a warlock. Besides
Besides
their
Eldritch
pact.
Blast.
Yeah, stereotypically yes.
Yes, they're true.
Yeah, that's true. Which,
I Eldritch Blast.
which, albeit though, they are the best
Beautiful.
class to take Eldritch Blast because their invocations let them boost it up.
Yes.
Yes.
It's just Warlock as a spellcaster, kind of weak. They're a martial-esque class, not really.
They
They're
they
like-
try to be cleric.
Yeah.
They really do.
So,
But it's just I don't know what it is. Honestly, I really don't.
I mean, there's just as much. You have to admit, there is just as much roleplay capability as
Oh,
far
yeah.
as
100%.
Just
as far
as
as like cleric or warlock, because with warlocks, for those of you who don't know, you have a patron who is the supplier of all of your magical abilities.
Can
which,
be a god, cannot be a god.
Yeah.
Could be a god, could be a not god.
Could
or
be Cthulhu.
Some random book you found in the library.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you'd know, wouldn't you?
Hey, what can I say?
A random book you found in the wilderness. But anyway, like I was saying, there's still a lot of good roleplay capability. You can't knock warlock on that front, at least. Weaker,
Very- very
weaker
strong
class,
roleplay.
weaker class overall. I would say yes.
They have almost no combative
No,
abilities.
Besides-
besides their weapon proficiencies.
Yes.
And Eldritch Blast.
which is which even that isn't very strong because all they have at the end of the day is light armor and simple weapons.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which, they're meant to be kind of mid-ground spellcasters that, I see someone, I'm gonna hit them good with Eldritch Blast. Or
Yes.
use their limited spell slots to choose from the limited spells that they have, which in most cases, Warlock spells are pretty good at being able to do specific things.
They are.
Oh yes.
You
So-
a lot of the time with warlock, you tend to fall into like I'm gonna do like one.
Control.
Yes, I'm gonna do like one really big thing
Yeah,
that I can do.
one big thing, kind of scare everyone else.
Yes.
And then rely on your back foot, which is
Yes.
usually Eldritch Blast or
Yep.
some sort of invocation
Yes.
that you have, or something specific with your pack.
Which, luckily though, they get their spell slots back on short rest.
They do. That is
Unlike
great.
every other spellcaster.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Besides a little bit of wizard.
yeah, they get one ability. I mean, that's pretty much Warlock.
Yeah.
Where do we want him?
I mean, as far as for newer players, I didn't really say it on Wizard, but
Oh,
I would put
players.
them both in the same kind of class of pretty hard for newer players.
Yeah.
I would not recommend Wizard or Warlock to
No.
a newer player. Yeah, it's not like Fighter Barbarian or even
Monk.
even Monk even.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Spellcasters are usually a little bit harder
For newer
to
players.
pick up.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
There's
it
a lot
adds-
more to keep track of.
That's a lot more to keep track of.
lot more like little things you got to worry about.
Where I would put Warlock, I would put it top of C.
Top of C.
Top of C just because it does have the edge of role play
Over fighter and
over
barbarian.
Fighter and
both.
Barbarian. They excel at that, and they do have some
They
versatility.
do. You
built
will
in.
get a lot more versatility built in than
Yes.
with those two.
Mhm.
I
Right,
can agree
built
with
in.
that.
Yeah. Sorcerer.
Ooh,
Albeit
baby!
one of the other powerful spellcasters we get.
Oh yeah.
Another weak class. Health dice wise.
Yes,
Yes,
they're
yes,
also
yes.
only a D6.
But they make that up for in their sorcery points and what they can do.
Now, since we're touching on this other full caster, and we're about to really start dipping into, not after this, a lot more of the rest of the martial classes.
Yes, and-
For newer to D&D listeners, if you're out there listening to us, just a simple explanation as far as the way that spellcasters work. Wizards, there are the differences between
Yes.
them. Wizards, you have to study to
You're
get your
book
magic.
learned.
Yes, you are.
Going to college.
Going to a college, learning in a wizard school. kind of
You're
thing. Hence the spell book in
Yeah.
reference earlier.
also your spellcasting modifier being intelligence.
Yes, warlock and cleric, you're getting it gifted to you from like a different being
Yep.
with more power and stuff like that, as far as blessings or boons. And then sorcerer now, it's built into your blood.
You're either born with it,
You're born
or
with
like
it.
a failed test experiment that granted you magic.
Exactly. It's something in your like physical being that is allowing you
If-
to cast spells and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So think like any bender from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
They would all be sorcerers. They have it in their blood, and then they train it to control it better. And I think that's the perfect comparison
Yeah.
as far as other media.
Yes.
If you spend a lot of time online, you'll see like memes about how wizard had to work their butt off to get what they got, and then sorcerer is the rich or like the gifted kid
The
who
gifted
doesn't have
kid.
to work for it and just always does well.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is one of the best ways that I personally have found
think
that I
that's-
like to explain it.
I think that's the biggest way to break it down between the two. Because other than that, you strip those two aspects down, they're the same class.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Which-
Oh, yes.
Sorcerer though is charisma cast.
Yes.
So, you've got a fun, high charisma cast, just like Warlock is also actually a charisma cast. We didn't
Yeah.
touch on that with Warlock.
Yes.
But
It
they
is
are
a
both
charisma
charisma
cast.
casts.
Yeah. One of the biggest abilities that Sorcerer gets, my bad, are their meta magic options.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, my
which-
gosh.
It relies on their sorcery points, which, much like monks, increase with their level
Yeah.
equal to their level.
So a 7th level monk and a 7th level sorcerer would have 7 key points and 7 sorcery points.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So a sorcerer can spend their sorcery points to mess with their magic using meta magic options.
Yes.
Such as make a AoE spell such as Fireball not affect your teammates that are in it, increase the duration of a spell you've casted,
Oh yeah.
or even double the distance of your own spells.
Oh yeah.
You can do so much with those options that
It's
break
ridiculous.
the mold of other spellcasters, which
Oh, yeah.
give sorceries alone their own flavor,
Yes.
as well as their origins.
Yes.
Now with sorcerers, they do have a low hit dice just like wizard does, and they also have no armor proficiencies. But they also don't get any of that nice like unarmored defense or anything like that. So you got a sorcerer and you got a wizard out here. You're gonna be really, really squishy.
They're usually the backline.
Yes, you're gonna be hiding in the back with your wizard friend, complaining about, having to throw your spells so far.
As far as roleplay capability, I think they're pretty rich. I think they're
Oh,
kind of
yes.
right in the middle ground.
Yeah.
A good sweet spot where there are options, but not as crazy or complex or right off the bat a whole nother layer like in cleric or warlock.
And even the mechanics are pretty strongly there too.
Oh yes.
They've got strong, sturdy mechanics. Really,
Well
they
built.
exactly. The class is well built. It's well put together.
Yes.
Ultimately,
Yes.
role play like backstory wise with sorcerer, you can go all sorts of different ways
You can.
with it.
Yeah.
And then
Most of which, sadly, are basically just how others
got it.
around you reacted to
Yeah.
you finding out that you're a sorcerer. Whether the culture celebrates that and you are some fostered person in the village, like having some healing abilities right off the bat, so you are almost revered in your village, or
Yeah.
to even being ostracized and like exiled
Yes.
because you are different and scary with like destruction magic.
Yeah.
It's a little limited, but
Yeah.
it is a good flavor.
yes.
Yeah.
Not
It's
to
ultimately a
mention
good flavor.
Not to mention the variety of spells that you can take as
Oh,
a
yeah.
sorcerer. You can have a sorcerer that's mostly damage spells. You can have a sorcerer that's mostly utility or support based spells that like buff up their allies. So it's really like
Right up there with wizard and cleric as far as like
The spell
Oh, yes.
selection.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
So, those are probably the three
Wizard might
most
have the
great.
biggest list, but
Yeah.
sorcerer's up there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wizard has the biggest.
I know.
So how are we feeling on sorcerer?
I am obviously a little bit biased, so I want you two to give your opinions first.
I'm thinking A.
You're thinking A?
Thinking A.
I would agree with that.
Oh, thank God.
I would put it below Bard.
Below Bard? That's fair. I do feel like your roleplay ability
There's
is
a
a
lot
little bit
more
more
versatility
limited. Yes. You've
with
got a lot
Bard.
more options with Cleric and Bard as far as roleplay than you do with Sorcerer.
It is.
As far as just like
Yeah.
what's built into your character.
It is-
Everything else is on you.
It is going to be hard to get past or above Cleric and Bard.
It'd have to be really good.
Simply because of how vast the versatility is
Is my
Yeah.
advice
built
or
in.
No. No.
Okay, well, I don't
Which
know
is why
nothing
we're not going
about
to
it.
spend that long talking about it. So Artificer is a more
The-
modern,
The only added
the only added
class.
This is an intelligence caster. They can be proficient with light and medium armor. They're a half caster, which would be in line with that. No, they're a first half caster.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, some would argue that Warlock is a half caster.
no, it isn't.
No,
it's
it's
a
full.
whole.
It's full.
Is it?
Yeah, yep, it's a full caster.
It's half caster like ranger or paladin.
Yes. So half casters don't get as much spell slots and can only go up to 5th level spells, which for some classes, thank goodness.
Indeed.
I do
yes.
not want my Warlock casting.
I don't want my paladin dropping a 9th level smite,
I absolutely want my Paladin dropping a 9th level smite. Fuck you, Dakota.
Oh boy.
but artificers are mechanically
Inclined.
and can
Tinker.
make mechanical creatures, which for most campaigns isn't usual.
Yes.
They would be the odd ones out, which for roleplay is really good.
It really is focused. It's got like
Got a very
It's tunnel vision.
Yeah.
it's very tunnel visioned as far as
Yeah,
roleplay.
all of their abilities
It really is.
rely around their mechanical ingenuity. And stuff
Yeah.
like
Yes.
And I don't know a lot about Artificer because we're playing. I am experiencing my first Artificer
In one of our
in our
campaigns.
campaign right now, and it feels to me, especially from like a role play and like just how they're written standpoint, that artificers are very heavily like steampunk inspired,
Yes.
whereas
Yes. Or
most
clockwork.
a lot of
Clockwork.
our tables that we've played at least are still very heavily like straight up Middle Ages.
That's what I was
like,
saying.
Fancy.
For most settings,
they are out of place. We are not supposed to be at a point where we have this shit yet.
That's what I was saying. For most settings, Artificer isn't the class.
It's gonna be odd out.
Exactly, it'll
Yeah.
be the odd man out, which
If it's even allowed.
exactly if most people allow it, which
Exactly.
at least it's official.
It makes it situational.
Exactly.
Which limits the class.
Which,
Yes.
honestly, with all that, I mean, it's mechanics.
Are
They're tunnel
fine.
vision. They are tunnel vision.
They are heavily focused, but good God, are they strong?
They can.
They're
be,
almost a
yes.
little OP based on our current artificer.
Yeah, but I'm sure a lot's being done wrong.
Yes,
They,
obviously. It's
they
he's a new
are
player.
they are very strong if you have the imagination.
Yes,
Yeah.
which I think personally they should go with D. Only because they're powerful.
They need the most rework.
Exactly. They're they could be powerful, but their role playability it's there, but like
It's limited.
it's limited. It's going to be very situational. They are a good class, but like setting wise and stuff, I don't think
You have to get it
Artificer-
okayed
exactly.
with your GM.
I don't think
Yeah.
They're one of the
Artificer-
only classes that you have to really
Exactly.
do.
I don't think Artificer is a good fit. If there were more classes like it, I think it would fit more. But
Yes, I would argue similarly. I'd probably put Artificer at D, just for the simple fact of there is no other class that you have to get it okayed with your GM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything
You
else
know,
is free reign in a high fantasy setting.
Which is just a whole nother hurdle to get up over.
yep.
As far as just playability, but ultimately pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it can very well be strong.
It,
Oh,
it can
yes.
definitely be a
It
strong
can be
class,
strong.
and it can fit very well depending on the setting. But in general, as most D and
It's hard
D
to pull
games
off.
are played in high fantasy, middle age, medieval type settings, it just
Yes.
doesn't fit well with what the rest of Wizards of the Coast has going on.
Yep.
Yeah. Which I will bring up. I think Wizard of the Coast, one of the biggest problems is that they stopped adding new
Classes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
They I think for how long the game has been going,
Only one class
especially-
being added.
especially for 5e, only one class one class being added. I feel like
It's a shame.
I feel like we should be at like 20.
Yeah, on the
classes by
side
now.
note of that, when you compare it to like Pathfinder, which albeit is a D&D related kind of game,
It's a TTRPG. Yeah.
they have added classes out the wazoo to that.
Yeah.
And they've been out for like the same amount of time.
Same amount of time. They just did a different avenue, and honestly, it's excelled for them really, and their fan base. So I just don't understand why Wizards of the Coast was so scared to add more classes. Which here, looking at Blood Hunter, it's
Not being official yet.
not being official, not being canon.
Maybe ever.
And it's solely created by someone who is not a worker at
Yeah,
Wizards
which
of the
albeit a
Coast.
lot of his content has now been approved to
Canon
be in.
Yeah.
and official.
He
and
himself
whatnot.
even said that he does not want Blood Hunter to be canon.
Exactly.
Official.
And so ultimately, I just don't know why they don't have a team on making more classes at this point.
I mean, I think
'cause
part
they're
of
just
it.
focused on making more and more subtypes
I
instead
think
to try and fill that gap.
I think
Yeah.
part of it might be that they feel like, obviously we might not agree with this, but I think part of the thinking on that may be that they filled all
Their main
The
dungeon
main
delve
bases.
roles. Yeah.
they've covered. We've got the big strong tanky people and the people who
We've got our
wear
casters.
armor. We've got our full
mid
casters.
guys.
We've got our mid range guys. We've got our long range fighters. We got all these things that cover like the bare minimum of what people expect there to be, which probably holds them back from thinking of anything that they could potentially add. And like Ranger just getting its rework done after how many odd years?
Yeah.
10 almost.
Yeah. Just about.
And it was in dire need of said rework.
Which we'll get there.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I would love for more classes to be made.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it would fix a lot of the blaring issues with D&D
Yeah.
mechanically.
I think it would allow more versatility in classes
More
and
freedoms.
party composition.
Yes.
Because I would love to see a con as number one for a class. I would love a shaman caster that is a full cast, and Constitution is meant to be their number one stat because they use Constitution as their spellcasting mod. I
Yeah.
would love that. I would love to see a shaman with totem mastery or something where they lay totems for AoE passive effects on the battlefield. That is something that would be completely different than any other class.
Yep.
Enough that it feels completely different. So ultimately, D for Artificer.
Yeah.
and now,
Speaking of D,
Druid!
the magical animal motherfuckers.
Oh yeah.
They're pretty good. They're pretty mid on hit dice. They got a D8
They're
sitting
full
right there.
caster.
They are a full caster, but they are also martial, which means they got a lot more proficiency with armor and weapons than a couple of the other full casters.
But they have a lot of stipulations. No
they
metal.
do. No metal.
No
No. You gotta be all about the nature. No metal. Metal bad.
For some reason.
I don't know. It doesn't make much
It's
sense
been
to
like
me.
that since first edition.
It's
Oh,
part
yeah.
of nature.
Yeah.
Metal is naturally occurring.
It's been like that since first edition.
Oh yeah.
Tell it to Gygax.
Yep.
Ah!
They were aiming for a certain flavor.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you know.
Speaking of flavor, wild shape.
Delicious flavor.
Wild shape.
Where do we begin with
The
this?
Yummy,
thing that
yummy.
makes druid druid.
Fruit salad.
Alright.
Being able to shape twice a day into some list of beasts and creatures. Honestly, so utilitous.
Yes.
So versatile.
It can make you very good as far as being another front line of I'm gonna turn into this animal. I get to stay this animal until I run out of its HP, and then I get to go back to being my normal self, and I have all of my HP to work with.
Yes. Oh yes. It makes you a bit of a health tank with the right animal picks, but you can also be just as well and useful as a spy, just like the rogue, which we'll touch in later. Ultimately,
No one's gonna suspect a bird in a treetop listening in on their conversation.
no one's gonna suspect the actual fly on the wall. But other key things for them is their flavor.
Delicious.
It's them being a full caster, their kind of source of or origin of their spellcasting is they simply worship the land and animals and
The natural order.
the natural order, and they even study it. So it's almost this kind of mix between wizard and cleric or warlock, where there's belief mixed with study, which adds its own kind of unique flavor and twist to it all.
Yeah.
So ultimately, their power creep, fantastic.
Oh
yes. The
Fantastic.
way that your wild shape increases with your levels, you're a full cast, so then you also have like all the way up to 9th level spells, starting at level 17, just like wizard and sorcerer.
yeah. Yep. All of them. That
It's
full cast is done at 17.
So great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Not
good,
not to
very
mention the versatility. Like not only are you martially prowess, as long as you stay within the limitations of druid, but you can also have so many good, not just damage, but also utility spells.
Yeah.
Oh
that
yes. Oh yes.
and druids. Not every druid is the same.
No,
Which
there's so much
obviously, yeah, the
different.
subtypes are killing for that, but each of them, regardless, would use a different type of animal. You're not going to
Oh,
see
for sure.
the same druid. You're not going to see 3 different druids maim the same animal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Each
Yes.
druid will be like, "Yo, this is my go-to." I don't know, man. I prefer going this. And then
Yeah.
the third guy's like, "Yo, guys, but hear me
Both
out.
wrong.
Hear me out." And you know, so they're gonna each spice it up with their flavor that they can get around with, their kind of style of druid, and then the animals they become with that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're versatile, and
Another wisdom cast.
strong utility. Yes, another wisdom cast.
Them and
Very
cleric.
strong. Where would we want to put them? Ultimately,
I think a good spot for
Did we go over for new players?
for new players,
Mm.
it's
It's not a lot to track. Besides,
It's-
the spell
besides the
checks.
wild
not
shapes
much
and
to track.
it's not much to track per se, but it is a lot of like.
It's a lot to remember.
Yes, you're gonna have to look up every single animal that you change into every time you change into it, because you do take on certain stats
Yes.
from those animals,
Yeah.
and not to mention the HP.
If
You gotta keep track of the CRs that you're allowed to turn into.
it being the last full cast that we're gonna be touching on, ultimately, out of all the full casts, as far as best for the newer players to try out, I would argue Sorcerer.
I would agree with that. I think the first character I ever played was actually either a bard or a druid, and looking back on like my old character sheets, because I still have them. I'm pretty sure I was doing a lot of it wrong.
Oh yeah, probably.
Oh,
Because
it's
I
a lot
just
It
to-
happens.
It's a lot to track,
I
a
chose
lot to
poorly.
handle.
I chose poorly because there was a lot to keep track of that I didn't really understand at the time. Looking back on it now, I realize how much I did wrong. But I do love Druid as a flavor. It's got plenty of roleplay potential.
Oh yes.
I think that it should be B tier in between Wizard and Monk.
Thinking B.
What are you thinking, Dakota?
I'm thinking A, with the versatility it has and then the roleplay ability. It's got high on both of those. So.
Yes.
That's my thought.
I was thinking A as well, but where
Um,
is the real question? Low A.
well, I'm putting it there now.
With Michaela
I don't-
feeling B, I think that's fine. Yeah, low A.
Split the difference.
Yeah. Ranger, the other nature boy.
The very
Yes.
harped on.
Yes, Ranger is the other harped on
yes.
class with its abilities. Its first two abilities being super situational with natural explorer, and favored enemy.
Yes.
You pick two types of enemies of the list that gives you. Unless you talk to your DM beforehand, you might not even run into a single one of those enemies or even one of your favorite terrains.
Oh yeah.
So like base ranger, and some of the other abilities you get from it are like they could be better.
As a class, just like with Monk, it feels very specific.
Yes.
Yes.
And it is a half caster. They've got a D10 hit dice. They're similar to fighters. They're proficient with all weapons and armor
They're-
besides heavy.
They're a good mix. They're kind of the middle ground between druid and fighter.
Yeah, they're the love baby of druid and fighter.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
Really, I just think personally, as far as like talking from new player experience, when Ranger was first explained to me, Legolas.
Yep.
Yeah,
Legolas. That's
Legolas
all you
from
need to
Lord of
know.
the Rings.
Yeah.
The 99% of rangers that you see are gonna have at
Archery.
least a longbow. You're gonna pick archery as your fighting style, and you'll have maybe dual short swords to back yourself up.
yeah.
And then after you've played Ranger probably twice already,
You'll
in a couple
realize,
different stories,
oh.
you play it again. Now you're playing Aragorn instead of Legolas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you realize which one's really the better flavor.
Yeah. So really, when it comes to Ranger, there isn't much different flavor. They all are the same. Mechanically, they're
wanna
kind
be
of
out in the
shit.
wilds.
Yes.
I mean,
they're
some of
very
they have
limited
good
roleplay.
abilities, but like not enough to pick up the very situational abilities.
Yeah. The only real difference in flavor that you get with the core class is just what your proficient biome is.
Yeah,
That's the only real
Which is
flavor
just-
change that you're getting.
exactly. Which just lets you be able to travel through it without getting lost, track food in it, and
It is great for survival campaigns, but again, that's very situational.
Exactly. But the new rewritten one in Tasha's just fixes some of those features. Like it swaps out favorite enemy for favorite foe, which basically lets you cast Hunter's Mark, which is a spell only rangers get. to deal extra damage to things, and then instead of natural explore, you get deft explore, which gets better as you level up.
Oh yeah.
Where you get at first you get proficiency in 2 skills, then your second ability you get a climbing and swimming speed, and then your third ability you get rid of exhaustion points at short rest, which is one of the only abilities, might I add, of any of the classes that mention a thing about exhaustion.
Yes, about removing or affecting in any way exhaustion.
Yeah, and there's a couple of other abilities that get
which I would
swapped
say
out.
very strong. Very strong.
Exactly. Which really that's all Ranger is.
Yeah. Really, you're really meant to be a survivalist out in the wilds, not necessarily doing anything as far as like
you are the tracker of the group.
You are.
Yes.
Maybe an infiltrator if you build correctly.
The only reason why you're with the party,
Maybe a tracker.
similar to Druid, is your backstory is that you're trying to save your homeland.
Yeah.
Or your homeland was destroyed, and now you have to adjust. It limits itself on roleplay capability.
Yeah. So
it does.
where do we want Ranger then?
I think that Ranger should be.
I would say bottom C.
Bottom C.
I was either gonna say bottom C or D, right above Artificer.
Yeah.
I would say somewhere in there.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with C.
At the end of the day, especially without the rework from Tasha's, they're terrible.
Yeah,
the two situations.
I know we said that Monk and Ranger get a lot of hate and that we were gonna try not to fall into it, but honestly at the end of the day, with Ranger especially, it's kinda true.
Yeah.
Ranger is a below average class.
Yes.
Granted, simplicity, first time players,
oh yeah,
absolutely.
The simplicity is
you could knock out a
it's
fucking
like a fighter.
Ranger.
It's like a fighter.
You could rock a Ranger as a first class to play.
I think
at the end of the day,
into C.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, it's lackluster all around.
We're gonna go with into C for it.
Okay.
And then here come our edgy little boys that we all know and love.
Edgelord clock.
Which honestly, I love.
Strong class.
Rogues
strong
are
class.
strong. They're well rounded. They're mechanically based. And
they get a lot of fucking abilities.
They're mechanically strong.
They've got, really, if you're not just, oh, my parents died and I decided to skulk all the time and brood.
the tropes.
You can flavor a rogue so many different ways. Between the kind of criminal you were or like why you are a rogue. So really, rogues have a lot of flavor.
They do.
They have
a lot of role playability.
A lot of role playability, a lot of flavorability. Their mechanics are strong, but they seem very set in stuff.
Yes, they are.
They're not going to be a frontliner.
No, they're going to be middleman, run in,
they are
hit,
infiltrator.
and get.
Yes, they are infiltrator. They're shock trooper.
I mean, when
all of the above.
When one of your main abilities that is literally built into the class is sneak attack.
Oh yeah.
I don't really think we need to talk about. You're not going to be a frontliner.
No,
we all know. None of us are here for rogue to be a frontliner.
Us simply just saying rogue.
Barbarian is playing bowling while rogue is having to play billiards.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to look at different angles for rogue.
Yes.
Which sneak attack though?
It's good.
Fucking whack.
Yeah, that's why rogues
so
are really
strong.
good.
So strong.
I mean, yeah,
and
you're
skill
kind of
proficiency.
Yeah, you get
they're
expertise.
A skilled dog.
Yeah, exactly. You get expertise twice. You get the most skills besides Bard.
You have so many class features. Like it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, rogue gets like a ton of class features.
1, 2.
But besides
3,
that,
4,
they are like
6, 7, 8.
Pretty weak. Like when it comes to like besides sneak
10,
attack,
11,
like
12, 13.
Their abilities are good.
14.
Oh, yeah.
But like their normal damage without sneak attack is kind of pants.
It's only based off of weapon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which hey, that's okay.
But they have a big list of weapons that they can choose from. So really, it's the way you play it.
Exactly.
Because they got simple weapons, crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords. Like that's not a small list.
Oh, exactly. You could rogues are pretty versatile too in what they can do.
Oh yes.
Between their expertise.
At first and sixth, yeah.
Yeah.
They are skill dogs.
Evasion.
They are.
Uncanny dodge.
Oh.
Uncanny dodge is such a nice ability.
Oh yeah. The only way they'll stay up.
Exactly. They're about to get crit on, and I'm gonna half that damage, bro.
I'm gonna.
I'm gonna try and survive.
I'm gonna
Thank you.
Matrix bullet dodge this.
Lord. Slippery Mind.
That's
I feel like that's a really underrated one.
at 13th level, right?
15th.
15th. Yeah, I mean it is, but nobody really gets that high in Rogue.
But like we say, the golden zone
It's
for
10 to
parties
12.
is 10 to 12.
Most people hardly ever get that high. Where it's good to pick up proficiency in wisdom saving throws,
Oh yeah, that'd be fantastic.
but like at 15th level, it's kind of like.
A little bit too late.
Yeah, but
it feels
a
too
little
late.
Too late.
Yeah.
But it's also still nice. Like you can't
Oh, yeah.
deny that. Oh my god,
No,
I get a
I'm
15
not saying
level.
that. No, but like compared to Monk getting proficiency in all saving throws at what level 13,
14.
14, one level
level
less,
4.
but like all saving throws.
All.
A lot stronger, yes.
Yeah.
A lot stronger of an ability.
Much better.
Yeah, which it makes sense though for rogues to be slippery minded.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would have catered it a little bit lower, but
Yes.
not much lower. I think that's pretty much rogue though.
Yeah, it is strong with role play. It is versatile as far as playability.
Pretty easy for new.
Really easy.
Mechanics are strong, really easy and good for new players. They're just a little dead set with their mechanics.
Yeah,
Yes.
which is nice though. So do we want a high A?
No.
I was thinking high B,
High B.
Yes.
if
Okay.
not low A.
Okay.
One of those two. Kind of
I would say more low B.
Low B.
Or not low B, high B, sorry.
more
I-
high B than low
Yeah.
low A.
It's
Okay.
it's definitely got a lot of role play stuff. It's definitely got like,
now
it's got some nice flavor to
Yeah.
it at times,
Oh,
as long
yeah.
as you don't fall too tropey. But at the end of the day,
it's hard not to.
Yeah.
yes,
You're
at the end of the day,
going
it's hard to not fall into the tropes when your whole class is built around, oh, I'm gonna be the sneaky boy.
I need to sneak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're coming up on our last class here, and by God, is it a doozy?
It is
As-
a powerhouse.
It is the
The powerhouse.
It is the
powerhouse. It is the powerhouse.
Because this.
This is the quintessential powerhouse of all of the classes.
Yeah.
Barbarian tries where this succeeds,
Yeah.
ultimately.
Because Paladin is just your.
They have everything that they need.
They
Yeah,
really do.
They are the definition of one-man army.
They
Yes.
really are, and objectively, having played a paladin in my last campaign, the most powerful person in a party.
Easily.
Yes. On
They might only be a
regular
half
clan stuff.
cast, but do not count them out. The things that they can do with their limited amount of spells is fucking wacky.
They have a automatic built-in healing pool.
Yes.
So they have
That
sustainability.
scales with you as you level up.
So they have sustainability. They have proficiency with heavy armor and shields
And all weapons.
all martial,
And
all
simple
weapons. And they are meant to be played in such a way. They role play have cool aspects built in as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
With
Your
oath
tenants and your oath.
and tenants built in.
The god, if you follow a god.
If you follow a god, you have
You're
that
not
option.
required.
Yeah, you're not required to.
Yes, not required to. You don't have to play a god. It's the oath that's the important thing. Ultimately, that all encompassing. They have smites for
Extra
damage.
attack.
They get extra attack like fighter. They are base martial with the splash of support and the splash of
Spell
Spellcasting
cast.
that they need, and by God, it rounds them out mechanically
Yes.
so well that they are just a steam engine.
They
when
really
need
are.
be.
They really are.
The
The auras.
Yes, auras, like they have offered team help with their
yeah.
auras. So it's not just they're the main character. They are
They are the
working in
support-
tandem.
Yeah, exactly. They are one of the biggest support classes when it comes to just normal abilities.
Yes. They have some of the best support abilities.
Without busting into subclasses and stuff.
Yeah,
Spell
what-
casting even.
Yes, without busting into spells. They have some of the best built-in support. They have the best built-in tankiness and martial prowess, just like fighter. But the biggest nick in their armor. The thing that any experienced player, experienced GM knows and well understands, the Achilles heel that would be this monster of a class, because newer players or people not familiar with D&D, you'd be asking, okay, if it's this good, why doesn't everybody just pick it? Their action economy
Yep.
Is garbage.
is horrendous. Action economy, you only have so many actions you can take in a turn, and with that, most of the spells that actually do things for paladins require
Concentration.
a status of concentration, which means you can't keep casting a spell every turn and attacking. It locks down your spell casting to sustain a spell for its full duration. And because of that, it's you got to be very pick and choose.
Yes.
You have to be smart with what you decide, with what you pick in regards to every turn.
Yeah, which while, yes, that's a bad thing,
Oh.
but like, honestly, that's the best balancing that could ever be done.
Oh yes, yes. It's for them. It's perfect balancing, but it is their weakness
Yes.
to their strengths.
Yeah.
It's not something to bash on or something that needs to be changed.
No, it's
The-
just
if
a
they-
complaint that
If
should
they,
be brought up.
yes, it is part of the class, and they know why they did it
Yeah.
that way.
I mean, I'm not going to be like, hey, fix this,
No,
because I think it deserves to be like that.
if they decide to fix it, they need to take away some of its stronger things
Oh my gosh, yeah.
to make it properly
Yeah,
balanced.
because Paladin is just like one of the,
It's an
if
overall
not the
powerhouse.
most powerful class.
It is the most, one of the most well-rounded mechanically just base classes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Where do we want to put it?
I think it has to go A.
I'm thinking
Oh, yeah.
IA
Definitely A.
or I was going to say S, but
We want to make Paladin our S tier.
because I think it goes past Cleric.
Base class, I would
Yeah.
agree.
I was gonna say,
Really?
I know it goes past
Base
Cleric.
Really?
class, I would agree. Base
Ah.
class, I would agree.
I thought we were gonna get in a cleric
But now,
conversation
here's
after
the
this.
revision. Here's the revision. I believe cleric should be also S tier.
And I know you think
I don't
that.
think we're placing a crown here. I think base classes, they are
Paladin
the two
and
best.
S. Paladin, cleric, S.
I would argue if anything else is going up there, it would be Bard.
Bard, yeah.
I honestly
Because
don't.
we are looking solely at the base class.
Yes.
Not
Honestly-
adding subtypes, not
honestly-
even thinking about subtypes.
I don't think anything else needs to go in S tier. I think we can leave it exactly as it looks right now, and it's perfectly reasonable with the explanation that we have given as far as how we are ranking everything. I don't think Bard needs to be S tier. I think Bard can stay A tier.
Which is valid. But I would love to point out at least something that I'm seeing here. Out of all of these classes, which are the ones that have a built-in flavor subtype?
What do you mean? Because we haven't talked about subtypes.
Well, not a subtype of the class, but something that is built into the basic class that adds a whole flavor level that can be changed without changing
They're
subtype.
ranked. Yeah, they're ranked.
Yeah.
Because the A has the most, at least until we had S.
Yes.
S has the most.
Yes.
A has the second most.
Mm-hmm.
B has, the third most. C
Mm-hmm.
has
None.
probably the least.
Yeah.
And then D, which
Because
I would say
when
the
you- when you
biggest
pick-
outlier is Warlock.
Yes.
Down
Yes.
at C.
Warlock could easily be a B tier if it had.
Some more stronger mechanics.
Yes.
Yeah, going on.
Warlock doesn't have enough mechanically to put it at B tier, but roleplay wise, it is blowing everything else in C out of the water because it has so many options and you're not
Yes.
feeling stuck in what you're playing.
Yep.
You have a
Yes.
lot of ability to change how your warlock is because not all warlocks have to be dark and spooky, even though that is the stereotype and trope of warlocks. Just like
Oh,
the
yeah.
stereotype with rogue is
Edgelord.
edge
sad and brooding.
sad and
Yeah.
brooding. Which, honestly, for that reason, looking at the thing now, I think we should move Warlock down in B.
Oh, you mean up in B?
No, down in B. Or
Well, Warlock's-
sorry, rogue. We should move rogue down.
Down. Okay.
Yes, I know it's the strongest, like mechanically, it gets the most like abilities
But you're
and
realizing
good
how
action
limited
economy.
it is.
But it
in
is so
roleplay.
limited in roleplay. It is so limited in like the flavor that you can give your rogue.
Yeah.
It is valid.
Even once we get into subtypes, you're still so much more limited than
Yeah.
you are with wizard and monk.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
So
Knock
I
it-
think B
knock it
should.
down a
I think
peg
B should be.
or 2.
I'd say 1.
I would say 1 because
Yeah.
I think monk you feel more stuck, bordering on like more of a C tier. Honestly,
Rogue, you feel less stuck. Just a little.
hear me out. Hear me out.
What?
Switch monk and warlock.
I would agree with that. That makes sense.
Monk belongs with the C because you're more stuck in what the stereotype and the trope is. But while it may be more, it might have a little bit more of a mechanical edge. I think, especially for our tables, we are a very roleplay heavy group. If we don't have
If
a
you
lot
couldn't
of like,
tell already.
we don't have like, if you don't have that breathing room, that availability to like really make the character feel different and feel like your own, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm lucky with my monk because I get a lot of breathing room. I got a lot of freedom to really say, hey, I don't want her to feel this way. And Greg made a whole pantheon of gods and like our
To
own
work with.
our own like different way of doing things where it feels not as, I'm not appropriating Eastern culture by trying to be this martial
playing
artist. I'm just playing a monk.
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I noticed it as a correlation. It
Yeah.
seems in the base class,
The
both
more freedom you
paladin,
have.
both paladin and cleric have already, without considering or picking a subclass, have some subtype flavoring built in.
Yeah.
Where cleric you pick a god, paladin you have to pick an oath. It's what makes you that class.
Yeah.
And there are options, and that's not just the
Yeah.
subclass built in. It's a whole nother little layer added into it, which I think is why they're S tier
Yeah.
more than anything.
Definitely.
Not to
I
mention
think-
just how strong they are.
I think it reflects that,
Yeah.
makes them feel more alive.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Brings more flavor to the table.
Yes, always.
And no one wants bland oatmeal.
Nope.
Oh no.
No one wants to blame anything.
Everyone wants some spice or some fruit in it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
If
is
you
it, guys.
This is our tier list as far as the base classes.
D&D 5th edition.
D&D 5th edition. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like us, please check out our other videos. Hopefully we'll have some up by now.
Hopefully, or soon, or coming soon.
Or coming soon.
We'll
As
start hitting you up
we-
with the
as
subtitle
we,
videos.
we will probably do some more D&D stuff here. It is one of our favorite medias.
We plan to do more tier list and
Oh, yeah.
eventually get into movie reviews.
Movie reviews is something that we've heavily talked about
Yeah,
doing
I
as
love that.
well. I'm a huge movie buff, and Dakota enjoys
Needs to be
movies.
I enjoy movies and
Enjoys
need to see the
movies and needs to see movies. So we'll have two different varying looks and opinions on
Yeah.
those different perspectives. But ultimately, we appreciate any viewers here listening to us, watching us. But if you got problems with the tier list, shove it.
Leave it in
We
the
don't
comments.
care. Leave it in the comments.
Or just fuck off.
We're fine with that.
It helps the algorithm. Leave it in the comments.
Leave it in the comments. We'll appreciate it nonetheless.
Let us know your thoughts and opinions.
And tell us why Artificer should be S, because I know that's what's going to happen.
Or why we should have put Blood Hunter anywhere but in its own category.
In its own category. Yeah.
All you Mac Mercer stands are going to come for our necks.
All you fifth-rate D&D players.
All right, well,
Fighting words.
Indeed.
we'll see you all next time.